Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Lost Like Mike, episode 25. It's a special episode, I guess, for some different reasons. It is the first episode of the new year. I am your host, Mike Gonzalez. Thank you for subscribing, for listening, for sharing with a friend, for sending in emails to lostlikemike@gmail.com. It's been a lot of fun. And it won't be a long year in review because I've only been doing this podcast for 25 episodes, so about half a year. But a lot of learning and about myself and about this process, and tons more to learn. If you know me, you know that to be true. But it's the first episode of the new year. It was, I was going to record last night. I really was. I did a show New Year's Eve, and when I got home, it would have been an interesting episode, I'll put it that way, because I felt kind of, I don't know. And it's a frustrating thing because I don't drink and drive, right? So, and all the stores are closed, but you do want to get a little bit, I wanted to feel good. And so it was a little frustrating. The the theme for this episode, besides being a recap and talking about kind of some of the stories about looking back, the theme that had been sort of tossed around and visited in my mind over and over, kind of is sort of the theme of the week kept popping up, was respect. And all of its incarnations: self-respect, respect from others, professional respect, family, friends. And we'll talk about that today at some point. But when you're sort of fighting off, you're getting done with the show, you're fighting traffic and a packed downtown city, and everybody's laying on their horns, and you're sort of seeing the worst in everybody in a short period of time. It was not a good feeling. So by the time I get home and I'm tossing around this theme that I was getting ready to talk about, it wasn't in the same vein that it was intended to be when I was thinking about it during the week. It started to take on more of a not a negative tone, but an aggressive tone. I just got out of a car driving for 40 minutes, in with all these people honking and wanting to get to whatever parties they're going to, and the congested traffic, and not letting people out of parking spaces and all this kind of stuff. So I just decided I just decided to wait till today to do it. It was a good show, though. I mean, we had to do a full band show, and so I got to get the bass guitar calluses going again, but we played. And it's funny because we know our slot there. It's not your typical New Year's Eve slot. We play early, so we're kind of like the dinner band. even the little bit of dance music that we play, it's not intended to like get the crowd crunk. You know what I mean? They have a DJ comes on right after us, and they kind of build up the night, and they do that bit. You know, we're there to entertain while they have their, you know, buffet, and they're starting to get their drink on, but just kind of hanging out and that kind of thing. It's rough because, in my mind, because again, it's the life of a cover band. You're serving a purpose. You're there, but they're not. It's not a place that you're going to seek some kind of validation about your talent or what you bring to the table. It's kind of like you base your success or failure on whether or not people were generous with tips or not. And in last night's case, it was not. You know, people could have cared less. So we didn't make any money on that end, and so it was kind of a drag in that respect as well. Here's the thing. So we've talked about this in previous episodes, and it's kind of like not a big deal, but I think it's about embracing that some of these cliches. So I'll explain. New Year's Eve to me is about a fresh start, right? And it's one that I sort of I do take seriously in terms of like I do like having money in my wallet, and I'll clean my areas up, you know, make everything sort of as neat and functioning as possible. And the only thing I kind of botched it on this year was my car. My car's trash, but it lived hard over the past couple of days. Because I mean, you know, I was literally having to go from work, changing in my car, and hopping up on stage and performing. And I've been doing that for so 3 days in a row. But on the third day, it was for my daughter's birthday party. My daughter was born on New Year's Eve and celebrates, you know, the whole weekend. So, I mean, when I say hectic, I mean, it's just all over the place, you know. I'll probably show, I don't even think I have a picture of it yet. Maybe we took her to a family, like where her party was, where we painted with like a instructional paint along puppy party. And one of the kids didn't show up, so I got to sit down and paint, which secretly I wanted to do the whole time. Not that I was wishing for the kid not to show up, but I kind of, the painting instructor was like, we're gonna give it 10 minutes after start time, and then we'll go ahead and kick it off. And I was like counting down the minutes, being like, you know, so and so hasn't gotten here, so I mean, turned out that they had the wrong date and all this kind of stuff. So yes, I got to sit down and paint. But I had to make an emergency doctor's appointment, and we'll talk about that as well. It's nothing really, just a skin cancer thing that I had and wanted to get looked at to see if I was just being a hypochondriac, and inevitably I was. It's still something that has to be removed, but the dermatologist is like just, but it's funny because the dermatologist was critical of another doctor's opinion from earlier in the year, basically saying that other doctor, which was not, to his credit, not a specialist, but this dermatologist was like, that's absolutely not what's going on. and you have we're gonna do what we have to do, but you can relax, which goes to show, I mean, you could build an entire like breakdown around the opinion of what you think is an authority on a subject, and then come to find out that they're you're misinformed. But at the same time, that's if you have two different watches, it doesn't mean that, what is that saying? You'll never know what time it is. But I guess that should use some explaining. I'm just saying that one doctor can say, oh, it's totally normal. Another doctor says it's not normal at all. But who's to say which opinion is correct, right? Is what I'm trying to get at. But what I will say is, and the reason why I'm going with this, because this guy's a dermatologist and he's hardcore, and not because he's just saying what I want him to say. Man, I tangented hard right there. We were talking about New Year's Eve and all of a sudden talking about a dermatologist. Wow. So back it up to that, I guess I did try to do everything that I could, cleaning up, having money, taking all the Christmas decorations down, and a general checklist of putting your best foot forward for the new year. One of those things, however, is performing whatever job task that you do, and it sets the tone for the year. That's what I was getting at, the point I was making. Because it's like I said, you're not looking for validation in that sort of in a cover show sort of format, but at the same time you're looking for, did I do well? So I felt that I played well, I sang well, no complaints from myself. I'm my hardest critic. But yeah, it was just kind of a drag because everybody's just eating their buffet food, and they're not even slushed in any way, so they can't, like, they're not loosey goosey or getting into the show or as much as I would have liked them to. They're kind of they had reserved tables, and so the people that wanted to come up to the front couldn't come up to the front. So it looked like our whole area was empty. And, but that's the money-making night. You reserve a table for like a whole bunch of money, right? So they're going to make theirs. So that's the way it goes. But overall, I'm going back again today, and I'm going to have another show on Monday night. So we're in the middle of like a 5-show week: Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So I always say that my days off, my time off, vacation time, is some of my busiest time. Can never just be like, but I had to I had to work half days to do some of the performances. So not this week. So I don't have work on Monday. I go back on Tuesday. So we'll see how that goes. But I want to buy into the cliche of the new year. I know we always talk about not needing to have a particular line drawn in the sand, right? Where you're like, okay, it's my birthday, so now I'm going to put down that, the extra slice of pizza, or like I'm not going to eat candy after today, you know. But I do feel like I want to use any opportunity. So, and there's nothing wrong with choosing to claim a new year, a beginning, the 1st of January, to set the, and it's not necessarily about resolutions. I think, but if you want to make it a resolution, then whatever works. Who cares? All I know is that I'm at my heaviest, and um, and I'm starting to see this podcast is really helping me see the patterns and the sort of the larger issue, because it's really something very mental when it comes to my decision making. I go through these patterns of frustration with myself, with my state of being, and I start wanting to make changes, and then I start like just self-destructing with thoughts of the purpose and the meaning behind making those changes, or what, in a sort of larger scale of things. And then the next thing you know, I'm struggling to find the motivation to do the things that I'm doing. It's it's just a drag, man. So if you got to use it as motivation, or like a starting point, and I'm intending to do so, setting some very fundamental goals to for the new year, and just hopefully use the date as a springboard to get things going, and I have this little app on my phone that was supplied by my work. It's this health app that I've been, kind of, and it uses January 1st as a snapshot of where you're at, which is kind of eye-opening. You know what I mean? And I suggest it for anybody to take a snapshot of where you're currently at. If you're on the up and up and you're doing great things, beautiful. Then by all the power to you. Cool. But it also can be an opportunity to say, whoa, let's stop now and get a hold of what's going on. I think for like 4 weeks or 5 weeks, I was manually inputting my weight in this app, right? And I would type it in without even thinking about it. I wouldn't step on the scale. I would just type it in, say, well, I haven't really changed anything lifestyle-wise, so it should be the same. Once I get around to getting on track with working out or exercising or joining a gym or whatever I decide to do, I'll step on a scale and instead of manually inputting it. Well, after like 4 or 5 weeks of that, just for funsies, stood on the scale and realized that I'd gained 20 pounds, because that's how it sneaks up on you. It's not rocket science, but it I think that and here's the other thing. The argument is that if you weigh yourself every day, your weight fluctuates from time of day and from water weight and from all these different factors, a little bit, right? But what they say is if you're weighing yourself every day, you might start going crazy on, well, how is it possible? I lost 5 pounds and now I've only lost 2 pounds, and I'm eating right. You know what? Who cares? I'll just enjoy this, large order of fries, because it's not going to matter. One day I get 3 pounds. I've heard all this justification, but inevitably, what I am saying is that at the very least, if you go up 10 pounds, you'd be able to say, whoa, this is something worth noting. Uh, and not, instead of being further in this sort of hole of digging out where I feel like I'm at right now, right? Uh, I did the January 1st measurements for this app, and I had to laugh out loud because I was standing there doing it, and it does this noise. It's like, I mean, it might as well go wah wah, because you step on the thing, and it's actually kind of like a boing, boing, boing. Like, I don't know what kind of, like, who thinks of these noises on this app, but it's like you don't want to hear that sound. So when I hear it, I'm like, oh man. It's when you go up, like, it's like a woo. I don't know, whatever. Who wants to hear all these noises? But it's very disheartening, and it's not fun to do. But yeah, so that's where I'm at with all that. January 1st, I think it's a good time for us to just take stock and make decisions to get yourself on track. I think the hardest part for me right now is just the I don't know. It's every year seems more difficult with all these thoughts and these issues. I think primarily one of the first things that I need to do is find an outlet. So I'm going to talk to a therapist or something. I got to get a hold on to some of these thoughts and these seems to feel really get out of hand recently, where the thoughts that are popping in my head are I mean, they're progressively getting more debilitating. So that's something I want to work on. The physical part of it is just a decision that I'm trying to get to say, no matter what, that you need to get your physical on point, and then we'll deal with the other part. If you hear my family in the background, I apologize. My studio time is limited on the weekends, so if I don't do it when everybody's in bed, then I have to allow them to to do their thing. Anyway, so I think my voice is going out because of the 4 hours last night. For some reason, when it's full band, I get a little excitable. So we were talking about respect, and we were talking about respect, and respect is one of these abstract, funny ideas where you perceive yourself as in the way that people interact with you in a way that maybe is justified or not, or you think that people are not respecting you, or I was kind of like, I'll give you an example. We were at a birthday party. We went to go to this arcade where they had like it was like a family entertainment center. Okay. I'm not really getting into the name of the place. It was because I feel like it was very poorly managed, and the building was it was not clean, and Anyway, and we spend the day, we're doing what we're doing, playing the games, getting these um, tickets or whatever, points to get prizes. And we go over to this gaming area where the prizes are, and this young guy, um, I love these young guys too. I mean, see, we live in a different generation now than when I was coming up, and you always hear that. But here's what I'm saying. I mean, even you could even say, like, from the hippies and the beatniks, the way they looked different, right? And then the 80s, where they started to have um these punkish goth kids, and with, flock of seagulls hair and all this kind of stuff, right? So, but generally, you could say, if you were like a curmudgeon old man, that was young in the 50s, you could say that when, these young kids come around with their jacked up hairstyles and, their eyeliner and whatever the case, oh, where are these kids today? They look so weird and whatever. Fine, whatever. The difference is that now these young people, they think that we haven't seen, like, that I didn't have stupid hair when I was young, or that I didn't, you know, um, dress all wonky or whatever. And sometimes, just out of wanting to wear whatever the hell I want to wear, that I don't like clothes that have vibrant colors, or like mismatch, or whatever the case is, or dress however I want to dress. But it's like they're looking at me weird because I have a poof of hair right here in front of my face. No, dude, I'm looking at you like this because you're being a jerk. In this case, we were there, and he was slamming the cards down when he couldn't make his thing work, and he was like, "Can I have it back?" Just being rude, no respect, right? You don't know me from Adam. You don't know my wife, my kid. You know what I mean? Um, and and here's the thing: people always say, "Well, you don't know what kind of life they're living and what they're going through, and you don't know what's happening in their life that makes them want to treat you like crap." I don't care, because it's always, when people talk like that, they're always asking you to care about where the other person is coming from, which I do quite often, more often than I should. I'm far more empathetic than a lot of people that I see. I really do care what's going on in somebody's life. What I don't agree with is that none of it, we all have, inevitably, at the end of the day, choices. And you can, being a jerk is a choice. Not valuing the other person's time and needs is a choice. Just the same as I don't know what this person's going through, they don't know what I'm going through. They don't know what a struggle it is for me to get out of bed, to get dressed, to go out and put on a happy face in some of these circumstances, to give my daughter a good birthday. You don't know what a struggle it is to get off of work and to change my clothes in a car so that I can show up for somebody, not just so you can, you know, um, take out your girlfriend won't go out for you, so you want to treat her like crap, whatever it is. I mean, your new chain wallet didn't come in from Hot Topic, or whatever it is. Whatever it is doesn't give you a license to talk to me and my family that way, to bang shit around and to be like angry and to be like dismissive. And like, at one point he said, "Yeah, we don't carry bags for you to carry your stuff in." And then he sees that I'm looking at a stack of bags, and he goes, oh, and he gets a bag like all like it was an imposition on his day that he was caught in a lie. I mean, it's just an example, but what at what point does that respect come into play? Where do you say, I mean, I'm not saying respect for elders. I'm saying respect for another human being. Like this new thing. I was reading about this about millennials and the next generation after. I think it's generation Y or Y or it's not Y. I'm just playing. Don't be like that. But the idea was that they don't put up with nothing. Now they're just they just they'll let you know if they don't just take orders or whatever. And it's like when did this happen? Like where like business owners or people that are running a business can't say, hey, this is how I want my product and services to be presented. This is how I want my business that I'm responsible for to be presented. I'm going to pay you money. I'm going to pay your wages to perform a job for me. And then you don't have the right to say, well, this is how I would like it to be done. Oh, your input, your ideas, fantastic. But at the end of the day, can you, this is what I want you to do. When did that, not? And I work in management currently, but my staff are, they're not teenagers. They're, older, and maybe they're still, but all of the courses that I take and all the refresher tutorials and stuff on interacting with people, the new ones, everything that's for this generation, and I did one for how to talk to baby boomers, how to talk to Generation Xers, and how, millennials, etc. And it just seems the more and more everybody's more and more sensitive and entitled or whatever it is. But it's kind of like you could sum it up with when there was a hoopla a couple of years ago, and sometimes in some circles we'll still see it, where they'll say, all right, well, you can't post a nativity scene, and you can't put Merry Christmas because it's culturally insensitive to people that that celebrate different things. You can't tell people Merry Christmas. Or at one point it was even Thanksgiving, but what if they don't celebrate Christmas? What if they celebrate Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or something else? You're just imposing your beliefs on them, and how dare you, right? But that equation dictates that you respect others and allow them to disrespect you. And that's a no-win scenario. My thing is, if I say, listen, okay, I'm going to tell you Merry Christmas. You don't have to tell me Merry Christmas back. And I'm not going to be offended if you don't. And, I'll be offended if you scoff and make faces and be like a jerk about it because, I mean, that's in itself rude or whatever. But I'm going to say what I'm going to say. And you do you, right? If you celebrate winter solstice and you don't recognize anything else, and you say, I don't know what people say, happy moon going over this hill or whatever it is that happens, I'll be cool. Right on. I'm uh, uh, nature's wonderful. I don't know what you mean to say, but I'm gonna respect it. I'm gonna give it its credence and say cool. But you know, it's kind of a universal thing. You want to like in my professional world, I look for respect. I don't demand it in the way that people see that. That's some of these arguments you hear that you know people will give respect because you're educated in your field, because you treat people with kindness. It's all bullshit. Sometimes people will respect you and sometimes they won't. Sometimes people will recognize the good that you do and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they'll see how you go above and beyond for them in as their leader, and sometimes they're too full of themselves to notice. Sometimes um, they they misinterpret your actions, you know, um, and that's just the harsh truth of respect. I mean, you live long enough to look back and see people's legacies um, being crapped on and revisited, and um, just because they wanted a soundbite, you know. You hear it all the time where people will bash uh, people in retrospect, and okay, you could say somebody like Bill Cosby, and and I get it, man. I get it. He broke the law and he was doing these things, and we're not the judge and jury. But I'm saying, but any good that he did just eclipsed, and that is the same with uh, okay. I know they were talking about Martin Luther King Jr. and Mahatma Gandhi, and saying these things about their personal lives, and just trying to undermine their legacy with these allegations, and saying things about, and that's what I'm talking about. Bill Cosby's kind of a hot button issue. You can't really talk about Bill Cosby. It won't make sense right now, and it's too soon. But so I mean, it's just where you find your respect and how you receive it is really what has been an ongoing, like I was gonna say bee in my bonnet. That's such a horrible phrase. It's it's been on my mind recently because it's fleeting and it's upsetting. Sometimes the respect, it's there, but the way that they give it to you is the way that they give it to you, and they don't know better. Okay, so another example would be my daughter was sitting there and we were telling a joke, whatever, and it was like the rhythm of the joke and the way that it went down led her to do, like, she's very funny and she's telling her thing, she's telling it, and then she slaps me in the face. And she could not stop laughing because the way that it all worked out. And I can honestly tell you she meant no disrespect from slapping me in the face. And also I play it up and do this whole face jerking thing with like a surprised look on my face, and it's overly dramatic and comedic, and so I can see why an 8-year-old would want to do it again, right? Because they see it and they oh, it's making me laugh, and oh, that's even funnier. Obviously, he thinks it's a joke too. Wow, let's do it again, right? But it's one of the most disrespectful things that anybody could do to anybody else. I mean, I'm sorry. They had whole cultures where you would take your glove off and slap somebody in the face if you wanted to, if you wanted to send that point home that it was disrespect, and then you wanted to challenge them to a duel or whatever. You wanted to take things to the next level. That was the move, right? And I don't know what got me thinking about that. But she does things like that, and I swear to you, it's not an exercise in disrespect. But I was having a disagreement with my wife about it because, to an extent, at one point, her argument was that she was enjoying herself and laughing hysterically, and me stopping it and saying, "Hey, I love you, and that's funny, but like slapping is disrespectful and it's not cool. We're not going to do that." All right. Like, I know it's funny in this particular instance, but you know, somehow that has to be established verbally or otherwise, because you know what I'm saying? Like, if not, then you're just going to be like hanging out and, having a conversation at a restaurant, and then it's going to slap you in the face and fall over laughing because it's a running joke or whatever, right? Um, anyway, but, and then industry wise, like with your craft or with your passion or with your art, whatever it is that you have, the respect of your peers and respect of others, that's, it's a bit tricky. That one is. But how do you feel that you receive that, right? How do you feel that I mean, there's certain things that I do personally, for example, that I don't even really seek that from others, right? Like, I have an understanding with my podcast that I'm doing this for myself. I do it for whoever finds benefit from it. But I have no, like, it's the furthest thing from my mind to worry about numbers of how many people listen to it, or whether people think that it's a waste of airspace, of airtime, or whatever. Um, um, Obviously, I wouldn't want somebody to troll it or to like be overtly disrespectful to me for trying to exercise some of these demons. But I have an understanding of it, right? But in terms of like wanting, I look back at some of the like recordings that I've made or music that I've written, or when I think about doing future projects, and I think how it, like what would my thoughts be on it, and how do I want to be remembered, or um I will say that's something that I'm kind of coming to terms with more now than ever, where that mutual respect has to be there, where you need to be able to tell the other person, I don't think that this is good enough, or I think that this could be better, or I don't want to put my name with this, or if I'm going to contribute, this is my expectations. And a lot of times people will be like, myself, speaking of myself, a lot of times I'll be like, I don't want to come off disrespectful. I don't want to be argumentative with, I want to collaborate in the most diplomatic way. And I think that if something represents you, then there's no room for that. I think that you need to approach that with a bit more pride, I guess would be the word. Maybe self-respect. Yeah. So it'd be your view of your own, your value of your own time, energy, and effort that needs to be respected. Oh, and then there's the respect of like your teenage kids, because like God help me, my son, like I call him and text him on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and a week later he's like, "Hey, what's up?" Yeah, I just got busy and I don't know, it's weird. Merry Christmas. It's like a week, you know? And then, so in the middle of the week or whatever, and then New Year's Eve, I'm like, hey, bud, could you just like let me know you're safe? Because, you know, it's very, when I'm driving home and it sounds like war-torn battle, you know, firecrackers going off everywhere and smoke over city landscapes, and you're like, okay, cool. Like, you know, everybody's out drinking or doing whatever they're doing. And then it's New Year's Day. I call them again several times, and it's like, I'll probably get a call in the middle of the week. That's weird. I don't know. Happy New Year or whatever. And I know he's just trying to live his life and trying to make sense of a precarious situation that he found himself in life. But it's just one of those things where, how do you demand that respect without acknowledging that weird space that he has to find himself in? You know. Anyway, respect is very weird. It's very abstract. It's not just like, I mean, I remember growing up, it was always do unto others as you would like them to do unto you, right? That was the golden rule as explained. And I was in a course this year and said, I know you've heard this expression, do unto others as you would like them to do unto you. But that's wrong. And I said, what? What do you mean that's wrong? And they said, the new way, and the way that we like to follow, is do unto others as they would like done unto them. Which is right, I guess, you know, to an extent, yeah. I mean, but, you know, this is the new age of like where, and it's, you know, really want to, won't even get into pronouns or identities or any of that stuff. I mean, I have all the respect and all of the acknowledgement of anybody who's trying to figure out their way in this world, you know, no doubt. But morally speaking, I do unto others as I would, you know, do unto others as I would want to be done to me. So I'm not going to act a certain way to you, right? Or I'm not going to behave in a way that I would not want to be, you know, that behavior towards me, right? So morally, I think that should not be, the golden rule shouldn't be kicked to the wayside, you know. I get what they're trying to say on a sort of identity-wise, or like acknowledging. So if I used to have this concept called heaven for one, right? Because heaven is this idea that you go up to this place where everything is just perfect, and and you're happy and nothing upsets you. And in my mind, I always thought, well, right, but that's heaven for me, right? What if heaven for me is blaring, um, you know, I don't know, whatever, blaring techno music, and for another person it's peace and quiet and like a gentle breeze with, no music at all. What if heaven is seeing every single one of my loved ones and being able to talk to them every day, and for another it's only seeing them from a distance and enjoying quiet meditation, whatever. So heaven for one is different for heaven from another. And in the similar sentiment, I get it. Maybe I come in thinking, I want to be acknowledged. I want somebody to recognize, say, hi, how you doing? And give me a big hug and tell me whatever. And somebody I might walk up to you might want to be like, no, dude, don't touch me. Don't come near me. This is my personal space. Could you tone it down? You're kind of loud as F, and I'm just trying to chill here and be cool, whatever. All right, I get that concept. So I'm kind of going to observe and then do unto others accordingly. But I think it's taken too far, and to say that, I'm also not going to, as a quiet introvert, I'm not going to go bust in the room just because you want to be acknowledged with all of the flair and you and all spotlights, and be like, I'm all about you. Let's act all a fool because you like that. I mean, doesn't necessarily mean that either. Anyway, we're tensioning again. So I think my little girl, I can hear her getting more and more loud out there. She wants to have fun. So this is the first episode for the new year. A lot of changes coming in this new year, and thank y'all for hanging out and talking about it. Thank you for your comments. Email me, let me know how it's going. Appreciate all those, and again, with any topics that would want to be talked about. This year, we're probably going to be doing some interviews as soon as I figure out how to do it, time and scheduling wise. All right. So anyway, take care of yourselves, and I will see y'all